In today's lesson, we're going to play with some of the ideas we've been looking at with angles so far. So no new concepts, just trying to kind of mix them all together and see if we can recognize patterns, figure out missing angles, and in the end, try and give reasons why we know our answers are the right answers. So let's start off with some examples. That's all ready to say, just a bunch of examples. We want to always find the missing angles. Sometimes they'll be labeled for us. Sometimes we'll need to find extra things in order to find the ones that are labeled for us. So let's get started on the first one here. I want to find x. X is part of this triangle here. We know that if we know two of the three parts of a triangle, we can find the third part. So really the question is, how can I figure out that angle right there? Well, if I notice arrows over here, that's a hint for me. Those things are parallel. And if I have parallel things, that means I should be looking for F's and C's and Z's. So, what do we see right here? That's the letter F, which means that I know this has to be the same size. And if I know that, I can find the angle that I want right here, right? Because we have ourselves a straight line. So if I take 180 and I subtract 75, I get 105 for where this dot is right here. Now I can find x, because x is part of my triangle. We know triangles make 180. And if we know two of the parts, the 105 and the 60, we can figure out the third part, which has to be 15 degrees. Okay, so some big clues in this one. This is a tough one to start off with because we have to think about triangles and straight lines and parallel lines. Now, not all of them will be this difficult, but I want to get our brains working a little bit and see the different things we could have. And we'll try an easier one next. And again, we have ourselves a triangle. And what do we know about triangles? We know if we know two of the three parts, we can always find the third part. So even though it's not labeled, let's find that one. 180, take away 56, take away 23. Gives us 101. Why would I want to know that part? Well, if I look at where x is part of this straight line right here. If I know one part, I can always find the other part of the straight line. 180 minus 101, x has to be 79. Okay, so similar to the first one, in that we had triangles and straight lines, but no parallel lines to worry about. All right, let's try part C here. What can we do in C? Ooh, C is a multi-sided shape. What do we do with multi-sided shapes? We count our sides. There are 5 of them. And we had a trick for this, right? Subtract 2 gives us 3 triangles. We know each triangle is worth 180 degrees, so the whole thing has to be 540. But if there's 5 sides, there's also 5 equal angles. So if I take 540 and divide by 5, I get 108. On the inside, each of these angles must be 108. Well, why is that helpful? X is on the outside of the straight line. So x has to be 180 minus 108, or in other words, 72 degrees. Okay, really, that's the only other rule that we had besides straight lines, triangles, and parallel lines were multi-sided shapes. So we've kind of reviewed all of them. Now let's play with them a bit. Okay, let's see what you guys can do with these ones. Pause it, try some, see if you can figure them out. I got triangles, I got straight lines. Here's my straight line. I can find this piece pretty quickly. 180 minus 140 is 40. And if I have a triangle, I know triangles make 180. If I subtract the two pieces I already have, x has to be 78. And if I look at E, I've got a multi-sided shape. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm not going to put dashes on them because they're not actually the same size. Let's get rid of those dashes. 4 sides. 4 take away 2 is 2. Times 180 makes 360. Okay, the whole thing has to be 360. But they're not equal angles. I can tell because, well, this one's 60. And this one has a box, which means it's 90 and 90. How do I get x? Well, I take my 360 and subtract the 3 parts that I know in this case. And x is 120. All right, take a look at F down here. What do I know about F? F. I see a triangle. And I see that x is on this straight line right here. So if I can get that piece, I can get x. Well, how do I get that piece? Well, this piece right here is 180, take away 52, and 72. That gives us 56. So we get x. X has to be on the straight line. 180 take away 56. 124. I think that's right. Yeah. Okay, so a bit of problem solving. Let's try the next little bit. So not only are we going to figure out our angles, but something new this time is we're going to use our table to justify our answers or show any calculations. So way down the road at the end of grade 9, we have to do an EQAO test. And they not only want to see if you know how to do the math, they want to know if you can explain the math. So we've talked about this all the time. When we're doing these problems, we're saying, oh, I'm going to use a parallel line, or I see a triangle. That's the kind of stuff that's going in our box. Or any calculations. So let's see what we can do with this one. We're being asked to find x and y. X. X is right here on this straight line. Well, I know things about straight lines. Straight lines make 180 degrees. So if I draw my line right here, here's my line that I need. I need to find this part right here to be able to find x. How do I find that part? Well, that's part of a triangle. So what kind of stuff would I put inside my box here? My calculation is I'm going to take 180 and subtract 68 and 25 to get my triangle piece. Okay, that's 87. But as in my answer, okay, my answer, x, has to be my straight line, my 180 minus the 87, which gives us 93. There's my answer. Now this is totally fine to put in the box. That's all we did. Okay. But if you want to add information, what did you? There's a straight line. Sorry, it's not a straight line. This one is the triangle. Triangle adds to 180. So I could put that as a reason if I wanted to. And this was a straight line. Straight line makes 180. Okay. Now, you don't really have to do both of these things, but you could show either of these things, and that's the reason why you know that's the right answer. That's all I'm looking for here is how do you know the reason that you do. So let's take a look at the next one. Y. Y is part of this shape, this multi-sided, four-sided shape. Actually, I'm going to do a little racing here just so we can see it a little bit easier. There's actually two Y's. Okay, four-sided shapes. What do I know? I know four sides makes 360 degrees. So what can I do? Well, so far I've got 360, but I got to subtract the 66 and the 72. And if I do that, I end up with 222 for whatever's remaining. Now, there's a y here and a y here. Together, they have to come out to 222. In other words, for the two y's, it equals 222. This is kind of like algebra now, isn't it? I don't want two y's, I want to know what just one y is, so I divide one side by 2, I divide the other side by 2, and y is 111. What did I do? Oh, I had a four-sided shape. There's my reason. That's why it's 360. The other stuff's just math. And so this is the kind of problem and the way we're going to try and justify our answers in the end. Give a reason how we know it's right. Okay, so you can do math like I did, or give some reasons, words, how you know stuff. And get you guys to try one. This one's a little tricky, but give it a try. We want to find x and y again, and same idea. Let's use our table to show any calculations or reasoning why. Pause it, try it if you're stuck. Come back and check. Okay, the hint in this one is that we have some arrows, which means parallels. And we've got different kind of parallels up here. So I'm looking for F's and C's and Z's. Whenever I see an F for a C or a Z, I know things are equal to each other, except for the letter C, I guess. Okay, so that means that has to be 59. There's an F. Well, there's actually more F's. Here's an F2 right here that goes this way, which makes this 59. which makes this 59. Hey, on the right-hand side here, I've got myself a triangle. I now have two parts of my triangle. I can get y. Y is equal to 180, take away 59, and 48. And if I do that math, we end up with 73. And y, triangles, add to 180 degrees. Here's my answer for y, 73. And what that took was a bunch of f's, looking for f's. Well, can I use that same idea to get x? What do I know about x? X is actually part of this pattern. That looks like a C to me. How do C patterns work again? Oh, they make 180. So if I take 180 and I subtract the 59, I get 121. There's a C pattern. That's the reason I know that. X is 121. Now, these aren't the only ways you could have done that. There's lots of ways you could have done that. I could have figured out, if I really wanted to, this angle in here. And if I know that one, I can figure out this one. And if I know three of the four sides, I can figure out 3 of the 4 angles, I can figure out the fourth one. And there's more than one way of approaching this problem, but you have to find a way that works for your brain that makes sense. The big clue is the arrows signifying the parallel lines, which means F's and C's and Z's, which means things we can find indirectly. And we can look for patterns and try and figure out those patterns. Okay, that's it for today. You just want to practice stuff. There's no new math, but we're going to have to practice the math we already know. Okay, try the sheet. If you're stuck, come see me.